Good morning, children.
Good morning, ma'am.
We were discussing about bryophytes in the previous class, and we learned about the sex organs present in bryophytes. The sex organs are multicellular. The names of those structures also we learned. And I'll just recap those points, otherwise you will not get any continuity. So let me quickly start with the topic. Okay, the sex organs in bryophytes are multicellular. These points we had seen last class. Bryophytes have multicellular sex organs, and the names are antheridium for male sex organ and archegonium for female sex organ. And antheridium produces gametes, which you call as antherozoids. And these antherozoids are flagellated. They are capable of moving. They are provided with two flagella. Whereas the female sex organ is archegonium, it produces egg. A single archegonium will produce a single egg. And in appearance, it looks like a flask. It's a flask-shaped structure. These points we had seen last class. And antherozoids, these male gametes, once they are released into the water, they'll swim or they'll reach the archegonium, and inside the archegonium, egg is present. So they will reach the archegonium and meet with the ovum or egg. And once fusion takes place, as in the case of any other sexual reproduction, here also zygote will be formed when male and female gametes fuse together. Till here we had completed. Zygote, already I told you how the zygote is formed. Zygote is formed when the antherozoid reaches archegonium and fuses with the egg present in it, it will result in the formation of a zygote. The zygote which is formed will not undergo meiotic division immediately. Okay, as soon as the zygote is formed, it is not followed by meiotic division. Instead, they will produce a multicellular body, which you call as sporophyte. So already we learned about the two phases in the life cycle of plants: gametophytic phase, which is concerned with the production of gametes; sporophyte, which is concerned with the production of spores. So once the zygote is formed, how is the zygote formed? By the fusion of antherozoid and the egg. So once it fuses, zygote will be formed, and this zygote will not undergo meiotic division immediately. They'll be producing a multicellular structure, which you call as sporophyte, or the spore bearing structure. It's not free living. Important to note, it's not free living, which means it will remain attached to the gametophyte. It's attached to the photosynthetic gametophyte. Means gametophyte is green in color. They can carry out photosynthesis and prepare food. And I told you, in some cases, the gametophyte and sporophyte will be attached. In some cases, both will be independent. In this case, sporophyte is not free living. They don't have a free existence or independent existence. They'll be remaining attached to the gametophyte, which is green in color and which can carry out photosynthesis. So sporophyte will be obtaining nourishment from the gametophyte. That is why they cannot remain, or they are not having an independent existence. So they'll remain attached to the gametophyte. Some cells of the sporophyte, they will undergo meiosis. See, now the meiotic division is taking place. As soon as zygote is formed, it will not undergo meiotic division. Instead, it will form a multicellular sporophyte. And later, some of the cells of the sporophyte will undergo meiotic division. Meiotic division means reduction division. Diploid cell will undergo meiotic division and form haploid structures. If it was mitotic division, if it is a cell which is undergoing division, is diploid. The structures formed as a result of division also will be deployed. The chromosome number will be maintained. But since it is reduction division or meiotic division taking place, the sporophytic cells will undergo division and form spores which are haploid. And then these spores will germinate and they will form gametophyte. Okay. Haploid gametophyte will be formed. And I told these two generations will be alternating. Now gametophyte will give rise to sporophyte. So once the zygote is formed, see, gametophyte means the structure which produces or the part of the plant where these gametes are being produced. So gametophyte has got specialized sex organs where the gametes will be produced. These gametes will fuse, it will form a zygote, and the zygote will develop into a multicellular sporophyte. And the sporophyte will produce spores by means of reduction division. Now what happens to these spores? Spores will germinate and form gametophyte. Again the cycle continues. Gametophyte will form sporophyte. Sporophyte will produce spores which will again germinate to gametophyte, and this gets repeated. So once again, zygote, it's not undergoing meiotic division immediately. Instead, it will form a multicellular structure. We call it a sporophyte. As you know, sporophyte is diploid and sporophyte is not free living. Why we say that it is not free living? Because it is attached to the gametophyte. Why is it attached to the gametophyte? Because gametophyte is the photosynthetic structure. They prepare food, and for the nutrients, the sporophyte will depend on gametophyte, and for obtaining these nutrients, they are found attached to gametophyte. Some of the cells of the sporophyte will undergo reduction division and they will result in the formation of spores having unpaired chromosomes, or haploid spores are produced, and later these spores will germinate and a new gametophyte will be formed. Is there any doubt? Children, you people are there, no? Complete silence on the other side. Any doubt? Malavika, where are you? Yes. You're listening, no? No doubts. I can proceed. Okay.
No, ma'am. Can you explain again?
Again. Adulya, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I will explain again. And Adulya, last class we learned about the different sex organs. Where are these sex organs produced? In the gametophyte. Then from the name itself, you can understand gametophyte is concerned with the production of gametes. So gametophyte is having sex organs, antheridium, archegonium. These are the two sex organs. Antheridium is the male sex organ. Archegonium is the female sex organ. And what are produced inside antheridium? Male gametes. And what we call it is antherozoids. Whereas the female sex organ is archegonium. Within the archegonium, egg will be produced. And once the male gametes or antherozoids are released into water, they will reach archegonium. Why do they reach archegonium? Because the female gamete is present within the archegonium, and then it will result in fusion. When the male gamete or antherozoid fuses with the egg, we can say syngamy or fertilization takes place and results in the formation of a zygote. Okay, Adilya?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, once the zygote is formed, here no meiotic division. Zygote is not undergoing any reduction division. Instead, what will happen? It will develop into a sporophyte. It will transform into a multicellular sporophyte. Zygote, you know, it is a single cell structure. It will undergo repeated divisions and they will form, sorry, I've changed this. Okay. Form a multicellular structure which you call a sporophyte. And this sporophyte is not free living. What is the difference between free living and dependent? Free living means they have an independent existence. They don't have to depend upon any other structure. But sporophyte is not like that. In case of bryophytes, the sporophyte will remain attached to the gametophyte. Gametophyte is rooted. Gametophyte is the, we cannot say exactly rooted structure, but that is attached to the substratum and it is green in color. It's photosynthetic. So they will be preparing food by means of photosynthesis. And the sporophyte will get a share of the nutrients produced by the gametophyte. Now what happens? The sporophyte, now this has to continue. So once sporophyte is formed, it cannot remain still there. This life cycle has to continue or the process should be continued. So the sporophyte will undergo meiotic division and they will form haploid spores. Why haploid? Because it is undergoing meiotic division. Sporophyte is a diploid structure. And this diploid structure will undergo meiotic division and it will form haploid spores. Now, what happens to these spores? They will germinate. Upon germination, they will produce haploid gametophyte. Now, again, the same processes will continue. The gametophyte will bear sex organs where the gametes are formed. These gametes will fuse. Zygote will be formed. And the zygote will develop into sporophyte. Sporophyte will form spores and those spores germinate and form gametophyte. This gets repeated. Okay, Atulya?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes.
Sporophyte formed by mitosis.
Yes. 1 minute. 1 minute. I didn't hear. Huh?
The sporophyte formed by mitosis.
Spore.
The sporophyte formed by mitosis.
Here, haploid spores are not formed by mitosis.
No, sporophytes.
Sporophyte, yes. Because only then a single celled structure can form. Zygote is diploid, no? Zygote is diploid.
Okay.
Sabari, zygote is diploid because it is formed by the fusion of male and female gametes. So it is a diploid structure. Okay. And if it has to form a diploid sporophyte, only mitotic division.
Okay, ma'am.
Everybody got it? Because the chromosome number has to be maintained. So it is mitotic division. Zygote undergoes mitotic division to form sporophyte. Why so many videos are off? Okay, let's continue, children. Alan, you may see the first slide. Okay, you can take a screenshot. Once you finish, let me know.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks.
Okay. Now we are moving on to see some uses of these bryophytes. And bryophytes include two categories that you will learn, mosses, then bryophytes. So the different categories you will be learning later. Some mosses are coming under bryophytes. Mosses, you know what is meant by moss? I think one proverb is there, no? Rolling stone gathers no moss. What is moss? Moss will give a shiny appearance to rocks and even walls of wells. On the rims of wells and all, you can find this moss or covering the stones. You know, children, these here I have shown enlarged view of the same. And it is usually found, and I don't know whether you people have played like that, plucking out this.
Yes, ma'am.
Some capsule structure is there at the tip of this moss. Taking that, we do a fight with two such pieces. I don't know whether you people have done. In my childhood days, we used to do just for fun. Okay. Anyways, I know you are familiar with the thing. Some mosses, they provide food for herbaceous mammals, birds, etc. So those mammals which are feeding on herbs and some birds, they provide food. Species of sphagnum. Sphagnum is an example for a moss. They provide peat. Peat is used as a fuel. So from this particular moss sphagnum, you can see the picture of sphagnum and the peat which is obtained from this particular moss, and it is used as a fuel for burning purposes. And not only that, this is having water holding capacity. They can retain water. So hence it is used as a packaging material. So when something has to be transported, maybe via ships, it has to be transported to faraway places, then for packing, this material is used. Because it is having better water holding capacity, so that will help in retaining them fresh, especially for transporting living material. So if lack of moisture can result in the drying up of those living material, so sphagnum or the peat which is obtained from sphagnum can be used as a material, as a packing material for transporting living material. So when it has to be transported to faraway places, shipment means transferring from one ship to another. Like when it has to be transported to faraway places, sphagnum, which is having better water retention, water holding capacity, is kept. This living material can be transported fresh, or they can remain fresh for a long period of time. So the first one is they provide food for herbaceous mammals and birds. And using the moss sphagnum, a substance known as peat can be produced. This can be either used as a fuel. It also has got applications in the transshipment or transporting living material. It is because sphagnum has got better water holding capacity. So this water holding capacity will help in retaining or keeping this living material fresh throughout the transport, or until it reaches the destination. This can be transported fresh with the help of sphagnum. And sphagnum is used for this purpose because it is having good water holding capacity. And third, they are ecologically important because of their role in plant succession on bare rocks and soil. For example, a particular habitat, only soil, bare soil, no plants, or only rocks are there, a rocky covered area, or it is fully covered with rocks or soil, no plant, no sign of plants are there. In such a case, they are very important. They play a very important role in plant succession. Plant succession, next year you will learn, means one type of plant getting replaced by another plant. First, some smaller plants will grow in that area, which will make the habitat suitable for the growth of higher plants. Then slowly that land which was just comprised of bare rocks or soil can get transformed into a dense forest. So one type of plant or one group of plants is getting replaced by another plant. Maybe in the beginning only plants like mosses, lichens, etc. will be there, but they will survive there. They will make the conditions suitable for the growth of higher plants. So over the years, what happens is a land which was not having any plants will get transformed into a dense forest. And let's see how this transformation takes place. Mosses along with lichens, they will decompose rocks, or they bring about weathering of rocks. So, and then this will make the substratum suitable for the growth of higher plants. So in the beginning itself, you cannot find any higher plants, or when the land is just rocky or covered with soil, to begin with, you will not find any higher plants or tall trees and all. You cannot find them growing in this particular area because the conditions, or maybe the soil nutrients are lacking, enough soil is not there, just covered with rocks. In such a case, when these mosses and lichens start growing there, they can help in weathering of rocks, but not within a day or two. It's a gradual, a slow process. But in the over the years, what will happen is they'll make that substratum suitable even for the growth of higher plants. So first, in the beginning, once the soil has been formed, or once the mosses have started growing there and made the surface or substratum suitable, another group of plants will come. Maybe it can be herbs, then it can be replaced by shrubs, then shrubs can be replaced by trees. All that you will learn in higher classes. You call it as ecological succession, one getting replaced by the another one, because this in the beginning it was not at all suitable for the development or a growth of tall trees, but gradually, because of the action of these smaller plants, the soil or the substratum becomes suitable for the growth of higher plants. They are ecologically important because of their role in plant succession. Mosses along with lichens, they will decompose, they'll bring about weathering of the rocks, and as a result, the substratum becomes suitable for the growth of higher plants. And children, this is not taking place within a day or a two or within a year or a two. It takes time. Over the years, this happens. And the next point, mosses, they can form dense mats on the soil. So they cover the substratum. They grow on the substratum. So wherever they are found, they'll be growing in a thickly, or they form dense mat. Without any gap in between, they'll form a dense covering, a thick covering. And the advantage is that when they are covering the substratum or the soil surface in this manner, they can play a very important role in reducing soil erosion. So even when there is heavy rain, the soil, the top soil will not get eroded off because a protective covering is there for the soil. The mosses, they will form a rich or a thick mat-like covering for the substratum, so that even if there are chances, or if the climatic conditions are not favorable, heavy rain or whatever it is, the soil particles are not loose because they are held in position with the help of these dense covering of mosses. So they play a very important role in reducing or preventing soil erosion. So once again, we will see the different uses of mosses. Some mosses, they can provide food for herbaceous mammals and birds. And second point, I said, using a moss known as sphagnum, a substance is produced which you call as peat. Peat has got several applications, and this can be either used as a fuel or can be used for the transporting of living material. And why it is used for transporting living material? Because it has got better water holding capacity. They can retain water. So that moisture content will help the living material to remain fresh, especially when it has to be transported to a long distance, or the destination is quite far and it is transported via ships. Then if this material is used for packaging, the living material will be able to remain fresh. And the third point that we discussed was they play a very important role in plant succession, especially on bare rocks and soil. So in the beginning, to begin with, no plant community will be present over there. And once it gets inhabited by mosses and lichens, they can make the substratum suitable for the growth of higher plants. And it takes several years. Gradually, this process will take place, but in their absence, no other plants will be able to survive. So they grow over there, and they slowly bring about the weathering of the rocks, which will provide soil or a better substratum for the higher plants to grow. And gradually, or over several years, once several years or even hundreds of years are completed, it can be even more than that, this region can get transformed into a dense forest too. Then they play a very important role in preventing the fertile topsoil from getting eroded away. You know the drawbacks of soil erosion. Once the the topsoil is rich in nutrients. So that decides the fertility of the soil. But if by means of heavy rain and all, if this fertile topsoil is eroded away, then the fertility of the soil will be affected. And when mosses are present, they grow horizontally, they grow flat, and they form a dense or a thick covering for the substratum. So they can hold the soil firmly, and that will not allow the soil to get eroded away. The heavy rain, or even when the water is flowing, so that will not take away the fertile topsoil. These are the 4 uses of bryophytes. Any doubts? See, in the figure, you can see this. This is a common thing. You might have noticed in several places that rocky land covered by mosses. Haven't you noticed, children?
Yes, yes.
Yes. And in the second figure also, you can find covering the soil, the thick mass or mat of these structures or these mosses will be there. So that will help in retaining. Even if there is a heavy rain, the soil cannot be eroded away. They are getting a protective covering because of the dense mat-like structure. The soil, the fertile topsoil will not get eroded away. So these are the 4 uses of mosses. And now we are moving on to the types of bryophytes. Just a minute. Yes, here you can see the 2 categories of bryophytes, liverworts and mosses. So there are 2 main types of bryophytes. First figure what you see, that is liverwort, and in the second figure you can see mosses. Liverworts and mosses, these are the 2 main types of bryophytes, and about each one you will be learning. So the 2 types of bryophytes include liverworts and mosses. So let's have a quick recap of what we covered and then we will proceed. So we started with what happens once a zygote is formed in bryophyte. So generally, once the zygote has been formed by the fusion of male and female gametes, what happens next? What we Anjana, tell me what we learned just now. Okay, Gaya. Once a zygote has been formed in the case of bryophytes, what is next? What is the next step?
Zygote undergoes meiosis immediately.
Don't
They
read,
produce
Anjana.
multicellular.
Don't read, Anjana. What will happen to the zygote? It is not undergoing meiotic division. Instead, what will happen? It will develop into multicellular
Whole
sporophyte.
body.
Okay, multicellular sporophyte. Analyst, what happens next? Multicellular sporophyte is formed. What is special about sporophyte?
Sporophyte is not a free living body, so it will get attached to the gametophyte.
Why it is attached to the gametophyte?
To derive the nourishment.
Yes, gametophyte is photosynthetic. So in order to obtain the nutrients, it will remain attached to the gametophyte. Yes, Tom, what is the next point? Now what is next? Sporophyte is formed. Now how we continue?
Some of the cells undergo meiotic division and form spores.
Then?
These spores germinate to form the haploid gametophyte.
Okay. Then, Emilian?
Yes, ma'am.
What is next, Emilian? What did we learn after that?
Uses.
Tell me the different uses.
Some mosses provides food for herbaceous mammals and birds.
Okay. Lakshmi, another point.
A species of Sparaganium provide peat and it is used as fuel.
Okay. What is the other use, Meryl? She told that it can be used as a fuel. Then?
It is used as fuel and water holding capacity for and it is used for packing material for transshipment.
Which material? Which material?
Mosses, sphagnum.
No. My question is for transporting, what type of material we are using it?
Living material.
Material. What is the speciality of this peat? Why it is used for the transport? Because it can.
Water holding.
It has got better water holding capacity. Then the third point, Alan. Third point.
Ma'am, they play an important role in plant hold succession.
Yes.
Ma'am, they play important role in plant hold succession.
They play an important role in plant succession. How do they help in plant succession, Basma?
They allow
Relax and say along with Moses, along with which is the other category?
rock or
Lichens and
mosses, they will grow, and what they will do? How they make the substratum suitable for other plants? Will bring about. Where are they found? Covering the rocky surface. And what will happen to the rocks by their growth? Rocks will remain intact, or some changes will happen to the rocks. It will get
fertilized.
It will get fertilized. How is soil formed, Basma? Tell me, how is soil formed? Smaller classes in geography have learned. How is soil formed? One line answer.
By breakage of rocks.
By the weathering or the breakdown of rocks. Here also the same thing is happening. Once they grow, they will bring about the decomposition or the breaking down or weathering of rocks. So it will result in the formation of mineral-rich soil on which higher plants can grow. Got it, Basma? Yes. Next point. Nimita?
Some mosses form dense matter soil and soil erosion.
If these mats are there, it will prevent
Soil
erosion. What are the two groups, the two types of bryophytes? Elaine?
liverworts and mosses.
Liverworts and mosses. I'll take your attendance and then I'll proceed. Okay, we'll continue. Now we are going to start with the first type, liverworts. Okay, 10:10 is the time, children, or 10:20? 10. Okay. Then we don't have time. Quickly, I will say this and we will wind up. Bryophytes, the first category is liverworts. So let's see some of the pictures of liverworts. You can see them growing in different places. All these are examples for liverworts. We usually find them in shady habitats. They prefer shaded places, like as you can see, the second figure, banks of streams, marshy areas, then damp soil, bark of the trees, then deep in the woods. So everywhere means such shady places. In such places, you can find them growing, and the plant body is thalloid. Thalloid means here also you cannot find a well differentiated plant body, no true roots, stems and leaves, but some structures which resemble roots, stems and leaves are present. One example is Mertensia. Mertensia is an example. Thallus is dorsiventral, and they are closely attached to the substratum. Dorsiventral, even our leaf, any single leaf if you take, it's having a dorsiventral surface. Dorsiventral means two surfaces are there which can be clearly distinguished. Some difference, like if you take the case of an ordinary leaf, you can see one side will be dark green, the other side will be lightly green. So when two surfaces, when dorsal and ventral surfaces are present, or when you can differentiate two different surfaces, then you call it as a dorsiventral surface. So in terms of structure and appearance, these two surfaces will be different. So it is dorsiventral and it is closely attached to the substratum, and true leaves are absent, but instead they have some leaf-like structures. All the plants coming under bryophytes or liverworts, they don't have true leaves, or leaves are not there. Some of them don't have leaves, some have leaf-like structures. So in them, tiny leaf-like structures are present which are arranged in two rows on stem-like. So everywhere they have mentioned leaf-like, stem-like, because true leaves and stems or roots are absent. So some of the members, you call them as leafy members. All are not having leaf-like structures. Wherever leaf-like structures are present, they will be arranged in two rows on stem-like structure. That is also not stem. We cannot call it a stem. So once again, they grow in moist, shady habitats. For example, banks of streams, marshy ground, damp soil, bark of trees, or even deep in the woods you can find them. Thalloid plant body, true leaves, stems and roots are absent, and it is having a dorsi, or the thallus is dorsiventral, means two distinct surfaces are there which can be separated on the basis of their appearance and structure. Then some of them, they have leaf-like structures arranged in two rows on stem-like structures. Okay, we will learn more about it in the next class. I'll wind up. This we will repeat again in the next class. So thank you, children. See you next class. Okay, bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.